You need to go to sleep, honey. You're leaving? Okay. You're tired.
So weird. And we are live. And we are live. Awesome. Okay. Yay. Okay. Awesome.
Are
Awesome.
you not gonna take a nap?
Hi, everybody. Yay. Harper, you not staying with us?
She is so tired. I don't know why she's refusing to take a nap.
Because she said there's stuff going on.
Okay.
I need to be part of it. You're fine, Jessica. I've already let people know who watch my my lives that, you know, we're all mums and children come in and out and there's noise and there's everything. So welcome to Rebel Queen Spotlight episode 3. Yeah, I can't count. 3. And my special guest this week is Jessica Rena of Mamas in Color. Now, I've actually had the privilege of interviewing Jessica previously, and we talked about her birth of Harper. And at the time, Harper was 5 months old.
Yes, it was so long ago, it feels
like. So now Harper's a full-grown woman. Right. Walking and just getting into stuff and wow. Yeah, I remember because I think you were having to change her diaper and you were trying to put her down and
Yes. Oh my gosh, it feels like so long ago.
Yes. Okay, I was just reminded that I need to go on my phone because I'm challenged where it comes to, well, I've got this whole vision thing. So I can be really challenged where it comes to seeing when people say stuff and responding. And let's turn that down. Yeah. So that I can see the comments and respond to the comments here on my phone. All righty. Yay. So everybody who doesn't know me, I'm Nikki Inman of the Birthing Code, and I help Black and Brown mothers to discover and create the birth of their dreams because they deserve it and because there's no other way to birth, honestly. So, and I created the Rebel Queen Spotlight because because representation matters. And it's really important that mamas of color, no pun intended, that mamas of color actually see other people who look like them, who've actually done the thing that they feel that maybe they can't do, or they're wondering, can this be done? Is this a possibility? And so I created this platform so that women of color could see, yes, this is something you can do. Yes, it is possible. Yes, you can birth at home. Yes, you can have a water birth. And for those of you who haven't seen Jessica's birthing story and her birthing video, listen, you need to, you just need to. I'm gonna turn to Jessica. Jessica, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about Mamas in Color.
I swear, this question, I need to start writing it down so I can say the same thing every time. I'm like, oh my God, what do I say? I am a mom. I just turned 29 last month. Oh my gosh, I'm so close to 30. It feels so weird. I created Mamas in Color after our birth went viral on Facebook, actually. And so many people were messaging me, just talking about how my birth inspired them and all of these things. And then I saw a lot of other women, Black women mostly, saying like, oh, I wasn't able to do this, and how the doctors, their OB or someone made them have a C-section, or they just felt like traumatized by their birth experience. And I was like, okay, maybe I should create like a platform for us because you can do this and you don't have to. Like the information is out there, and it just seemed like a lot of women in my community, like in our community, just weren't getting the resources or the information to know, hey, you don't have to birth in the hospital. You don't have to, if your doctor isn't being helpful to you, you can fire them. You can be in labor and you can fire them. So
Yes.
I was like,
Come on now.
create
Yes.
something that just uplifts us and lets other women and birthing people know, like, hey, you can do this. You have a choice.
Absolutely. So I want to throw in a caveat. So I know this looks kind of hood, but this is purposeful because I have a problem with drinking water. And so this way I know my water is measured out. So I know this is 32 ounces. So that's why I'm drinking out of a mason glass. I just needed to say that. So awesome. So like I said, we already spoke about your birth story. How old is Harper now?
15 months. I know.
Wow. So it was over a year ago.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that we had our interview.
I know.
So the reason I wanted to interview you again, because I learned some more information about you that I did not know, that obviously we did not touch in our
About me?
I did. I came across a post that it was either an article or a post that you had written about your experience with a nurse.
Yes.
And I was in shock. Because I think I did ask you like what led up to your reason for choosing a home birth, but I don't think we got into that deeply as much because what I really wanted to focus on was your birth, was the video, was the experience. But, I'm learning on this journey that a lot of the times and unfortunately it shouldn't be this way, but it is, when women of color, Black women, brown women, decide to birth at home, decide to birth in a birthing center, it's because they've had some type of traumatic experience or some type of interaction with either either way it's somebody, but a member of the medical community that has just made them do like an about face and like, I'm out of here, I'm done. Like, what are my options? So, I didn't really talk to you about really what it was that drove you to having a home birth. So when I read the article, I was just like, my whole jaw was on the floor.
Yeah.
So that's really what I really wanted to talk about. And then later I'll ask you something else. But yeah, so would you just kind of give us a backdrop of what went down?
Yeah. So I had always known that I wanted to have a home birth. So I kind of went into things like just planning. There's no other option outside of home birth. But my husband's military, and so we use TRICARE insurance. And so I had to kind of get like a referral thing from them, and they were giving me a really hard time on that. So I basically told the lady, like, okay, I'm going to have my baby at my house without anybody if you guys don't.
Now that's rebel queen behavior.
That happened. I eventually was able to get out of having to go to a military facility. But before that, around like 12 weeks or so, I was having a lot of cramping. So I got nervous and I was like, I am not sure what I should do. And I went to the emergency room, the closest one to my house. And so I went there and, what is it? Yeah, okay. I went to the emergency room and the nurse was just telling me like, oh, well, first, sorry.
Please,
first, they diagnosed me with placenta previa. And I was like, okay, I've never heard of this before. I'm a first time mom. I'm not sure what this is. And I texted my midwife and I told her like, I was just diagnosed with placenta previa, and the nurse is telling me, like, so I asked her, like, what is it? Can you explain it to me? What should I do? And she told me that, oh, you're more than likely going to be birthed out of home birth. And I was like, no, actually, I think she said, you just want to follow up with your provider in like a week or so. And I said, okay, well, I'm having a home birth, so I have a midwife. Is there anything that I need to tell her? And she was like, oh, you're probably not going to be able to do that. And I was like, okay, like, why not? And she was like, placenta previa, you could bleed to death. You and your baby, you could bleed to death. And you are probably going to be risked out. You're not going to be able to do it because you can die. And I was like, oh my God. So I was like so freaked out. I'm like, I found out I was farther along than I thought I was. And I was just like, okay, so I don't know what to do. And she was like, you're more than likely going to have a C-section. And I like was devastated. I was telling my husband, like, I can't do that. Like, so it was awful. And I texted my midwife and I told her, you know, I just left this hospital. The nurse told me that I have placenta previa. I'm probably going to be risked out of home birth and I'm going to have a C-section. Is that true? And she was like, what? Like, she was so mad. She was like, she can't even diagnose you with that. You're not even that far enough along to be diagnosed with placenta previa. You're 13 weeks pregnant. Obviously, your placenta is going to be down here because your baby hasn't grown enough to move it anywhere else. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I just felt really like, wow, she probably thought, because my husband didn't go with me. I told him, like, I'm just going to go by myself. I don't want you to like freak out. It's probably nothing. And I'm like, she probably thought that I was a single Black mom. And like, I felt so, after I talked to my midwife, I just felt so like, not discriminated against, but I guess that, like, oh wow, she really, like, I felt like she was being very,
judgment.
Yeah. Like, oh wow, I'm young. She probably thinks I'm like a single mom. And I was just like, wow, okay. That was unnecessary. And then she was just really ugly about it. Like, you're probably gonna die. And I was like, oh, me and my baby were gonna die. Like, oh my God, it was the worst. It was awful. It was awful.
You know, when I read that and to hear you say it again, two things came to mind. Was, first of all, they're supposed to be trained on how to give information to clients, okay, patients. And when she gave you that information, was this information that she said she got from the doctor, or was this just, I'm giving you this information?
She just told me, actually. So the ultrasound tech that was on call, she was like, oh, it looks like it's this. And so she wrote it on a paper and she brought it back to me like, oh, it looks like she didn't even really explain to me what it was. She just gave me the paperwork and was like, so it's this. You're probably going to be risked out of home birth. You probably want to find, and she, after that, she gave me information on an OB at the hospital. And I was like, you think I'm going to come back here and have my baby? Like, absolutely. You think that that's what I'm going to do? Absolutely not.
Yeah. And then the second thing that came to mind was, how many women have received an inaccurate diagnosis and
right.
and just said, oh my gosh.
Yep.
You know, that
doctor knows best.
The doctor knows best, and what if, and oh my goodness, I'm just so glad at least they found it early, and
right.
I'm just gonna birth my baby at the hospital.
Yeah.
That, I mean, placenta previa that's not like a small diagnosis. That's like big. That's a big thing for her to just be flippant and just be like, oh yeah, you're probably not going to be able to birth.
Yeah.
So it's very, you know, and I think that there are a lot of women that don't necessarily understand that home birth, birthing center birth, these are choices, but everybody is not going to like your choice, even those in the medical profession. They are not going to like your choice. And so they come in with their own biases based around that and inject that into your
Yeah.
experience and inject that into your desires. And because there is a level, I just did a video yesterday of how in society we have doctors are authorities and we've put them here and we're here. And so whatever the doctor says or whatever the medical professional says is way more, it holds way more credibility than anything we feel, anything we know about ourselves, our bodies. It's just, if that's what they said, that's what it is. And we completely forget that they are practicing medicine and they are not always correct. They're just not. They're human and they're just not always right. So did you ever so how did you, so tell us how that unfolded for you. How did you find out that you didn't have what she said?
My midwife was like, she was like, I'm calling bullshit on this. Like, she was so serious. And the type of person that I am, I research everything. So I'm like, okay. So I started researching placenta previa. I went into my natural birth support groups and I started searching about people who had placenta previa. And my midwife was like, if that's the case, you have up until like at least 28 to 32 weeks where we can go and check, and we can check again at 36 weeks to see if the placenta is still in a place where you can be able to push your baby out vaginally versus having to have a C-section. And so she was just really hopeful. Like, I don't think that that's what's going on. You're not even far enough along to be diagnosed with that. Your baby still has so much more to grow to where even if your placenta is on the bottom covering your cervix, it's probably going to move. And so I was like, okay. And at our 20-week ultrasound, I was still so anxious about it because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to hemorrhage out. I'm so nervous. And they were like, you don't have placenta previa. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, and they were like, no, your placenta is exactly where it needs to be. Like, I don't know why anyone would tell you that. And it was just,
like the anxiety that you went through, between 13 weeks and 20 weeks, that anxiety of still like it looming in the back of your head that a medical professional told you this. And so it was almost solidified, like, well, maybe there is something, maybe there isn't, but they said so. And so, yeah. So you could have been saved all of that stressing and worry and
yeah.
So how did you end up I'm not sure if you covered that and I may have missed that. How did you end up going to the doctor's office? Because you said
I was like cramping and I was just nervous. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. And it was like round ligament pain.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I was like, oh my God, is this a miscarriage? Because I've been reading so much stuff, like taking in too much information.
That happens.
Like, WebMD says I'm dying tonight. Like,
yes. Wow. So, wow, that's crazy. So, with that type of experience, what would you tell Black women specifically? What would your advice be?
Always get a second opinion. Just always do your own research, trust your gut, and always get a second opinion. Because like you said, people have their biases. Like, that woman obviously wanted me to, she seemed like, at the fact that I said I was having a home birth, so it seemed like she just wanted to push me into the hospital. Like, oh, well, the hospital here is really good. We have a really good OB. Like, you think that I would want to come back here after you just told me that me and my child might hemorrhage to death and we could die, and I'm going to come back? No. So,
wow.
Always do your research.
Yes, for sure. So you were in Colorado when you had Harper. I remember that because when I said to you the other day, and I was like, wait, where are you? And you I'm like, wait, are you in Colorado? So just, I know, I already know I interviewed, that we covered this on a previous interview, but for those who don't know, Can you tell us a little bit about your journey as to how you found a midwife and what that process was like, and whether you used a
Yes.
doula, and also I know you said that you'd always wanted a home birth, but what was the reason for that?
So I found my midwife through, like I said, my husband's military. So we have TRICARE, and they have a website where you can search like CNMs, because they'll only cover the CNM, not a CPM or anything like that. So I searched through CNMs and I found a couple. And once I found them, I looked on Facebook and their social medias to see.
Let me interject. So CNM is a certified nurse midwife, and a CPM is a certified professional midwife. Very different. The CNMs can only function inside of, well, depending on the state.
Yes.
I learned that with Jessica. I learned that with Jessica. So in some states, CNMs can only function and practice within a hospital setting. But in Colorado, CNMs can go to your home. So typically it's the CPMs or the LMs, which are licensed licensed midwives. They're the ones that typically do home births. But as I said, in California, Colorado, they've got a whole different thing going on. So yeah, I just wanted to preface that because, especially for women who don't know and they're just like the whole midwife thing, that's something new for them. I just wanted to, make sure that was good. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. So I found a couple actually, and so I started looking on social media. There was the midwife that I chose was not the one that I was looking at initially. There was another midwife that everyone had always told me, like, oh my God, when you get pregnant, go to Jolene. And so I was like, I remember Jolene. I'm gonna look up Jolene. And so I looked her up, and she was like booked for like, it seemed like the next year. Like, I'm like, oh my God. And so then I found my midwife. I looked on her social media to see how she was, because one is Colorado, so it's not like super. I was in Colorado this spring, so it's not like super diverse.
Right.
So I was like, okay, let me see how she feels about Black people before I pick her and call her. So I went through the reviews to see, like, okay, are there Black moms on here? Are there Black families that she serviced before? I went on her like Instagram, like, okay, let me see if there's any Black people on here. And I saw like really good reviews from Black women. I was like, okay, I'm gonna call her.
So why did that matter to you? Why did it matter to you? So, okay, first of all, were you looking for a Black midwife?
Yes.
Why?
I was. Just to have someone who looked like me, and it made me, I feel like I would have felt safe. Like, I can be myself. I can use the words that I normally say. I can just like really be who I am and be vulnerable, because you get me, because like we're,
And that really matters, because the birthing is sacred, and it's very what's the word I want to use? It's subject to energies. And if you as a woman do not feel comfortable in your birthing space, your birthing process can actually just stop.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you become what they call in the medical profession FTP, which is failure to progress. And then all sorts of other things escalate out of that. So for you, in your experience, having a Black midwife and someone who looked like you and understood you and knows your journey and knows what it's like living as a Black woman mattered. So I'm sorry, continue.
I wasn't able to find her until after I had my baby. I met after I went viral, I met other people who were like, oh my God, there's a Black midwife.
Yeah.
But I met up with my midwife, Tiffany is her name. And when I met her, I was like, okay, she sees me. Like, okay, she answered all of our questions. She didn't seem like she had any biases. She seemed just really like, I want to make sure that you have a really good birthing experience. And so I was like, okay.
Did you interview her?
Yes. Mhm.
Did you have specific questions that you asked that you felt like were telltale for you?
I didn't. My husband did. He he had like he's like going down his list, like, okay, what about this? Okay, also, and I was like, oh, okay.
Good for him. His queen was about to have a baby.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So, so, you know, I want to touch on the fact that you said that after the fact and your video went viral that you had so many people just like, oh, I could have. So clearly there is an issue with Black midwives being visible in certain areas. And so I came across a website some months ago and it's called Sister Midwife.
Yes.
Yes. So I definitely want to make sure that women know it's www.sista midwife. Is it midwife or midwives? It's midwife, right?
It's midwife. Mm-hmm.
Midwife.com, where you can find Black doulas, Black midwives, and you plug it in based on your state. And also for doulas who are just coming out and they're new, that they can definitely, you know, connect and you can plug yourself into their platform so that Black women know that you are ready to serve them. So yeah, sorry, that was just my plug for Sister Midwife because I think it matters. It's really important that, because you're not the only Black woman who's looking for a Black midwife. And
yeah.
So having a place and knowing where to start is key. And if it just so happens that you can't find one, you know, what advice would you give in a situation where they can't find a Black midwife?
I think next best thing is if you can find a Black doula. I feel like there's tons. But picking your midwife, just make sure that it's someone who sees you. Like, have your interview questions down. You have to have that uncomfortable conversation of like, how do you feel about Black people? How do you like? I interviewed someone as a sitter from Harper not too long ago, and I was like, how do you feel about helping out with Black children? And I think it caught her off guard. Like, she was like, I'm like, no, I really need to know, you know, like, this is important. This is my child. I need to know if you have biases towards Black people. Like, how do you feel? I know that it may not be like overt. You may have implicit biases that you're not aware of. And I need to know that I'm going to be safe in my birthing experience with you. If something comes up, I need to know that you're going to I need to know that you see color. I don't need that whole like, oh, I don't see color thing. I need you to see it because it matters. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have those hard conversations.
You do.
And ask other people in the community, like, look, like I did, look for reviews from other Black women, reach out to them. Hey, I know that you had so-and-so as your care provider. How were they with you? Did you feel like it was any type of discrimination, any type of racism that made you feel uncomfortable? Because sometimes people aren't even aware that they're being biased because it's so just ingrained in our society. They may not even know, like, oh, I was being racist and I didn't know.
It's normal. It's normal. So we have a question for you, Jessica.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's my husband. So he said, did your husband know about natural birth before? Before meeting you and in the process of?
Kind of. His mom is a pediatric nurse. She did labor and delivery while he was growing up. So most of the birthing things that he saw were like hospital births. So he wasn't really, he like knew about it, but I don't think that he was really like aware. Like his first question for our midwife when we went in was, okay, what if something goes wrong? Versus like, nothing's gonna go wrong. This is how this is supposed to go. You know, he was in the mind frame of something's gonna go wrong. What if we need to get to a hospital? What if, versus something's more than likely gonna go wrong in the hospital versus at my house. Right.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Inman, did that answer your question? Okay. So my husband and I, we actually did a live together because with our last birth, London's 7 now, and all of my births have been natural. And I've had a mixture of doctors and midwives, and I've seen, I honestly didn't have any major situations with midwives, but I did have with doctors. So when I met my husband and I was pregnant with London, and I said, yes, I'm having a home birth because I hadn't had that was the only thing I hadn't had. I'm having a home birth and I'm gonna do a water birth and the pool's gonna be in the middle of the living room. And he's sitting there looking at me like, what is this woman talking about? This is not happening. Because like your husband, it was what if, what if,
Yeah.
what if. And unfortunately, that what if doesn't always come from like a real place. And let me preface when I say a real place. It definitely comes from a place of concern, but it's not necessarily factual. A lot of the time it's propaganda and it's bad information that has been given because unfortunately the medical industry sees home birthing and birthing, any type of birthing outside of their industrial complex, they see it as a problem or as competition.
Right.
And so when you've been bombarded with that, and we're bombarded with that in ways that we don't even realize. We're bombarded with on TV,
From movies.
from the movies, we're bombarded it from billboards, we're bombarded with it just in regular conversation. Like the norm is you birth in a hospital, you're having a baby and you birth in a hospital. But the crazy thing is that where do sick people go when they're not well?
I know. Right.
And when you have a baby, most people know that you stay home for the first 6 to 8 weeks. Why? To protect your baby from diseases, illnesses.
Right. It's backwards. It doesn't make sense.
And then we go to the most, if not one of the most diseased places on earth to bring a newborn.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
So let's see. Did he say something? Oh, so my husband said, oh, sorry. He said, how did you educate your husband on natural birth?
So really when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, we're having a home birth. And he was like, okay. I was like, it's something that I've always wanted to do since I was a little girl. We're doing it. And he was like, okay. And he was like he was really, I think he wanted to support me. So he was supportive, but he was like, and so we watched The Business of Being Born. And I think that for him was like eye-opening. Like he was like, whoa. And he's like, oh my gosh, that stuff actually happens. Like I know that happens. Like, wow. He was just really like, because he has a little boy with his ex-wife, and she had a C-section. And so he was like, wow, that's like basically what happened the first time. And so he was just like, I didn't know, like I didn't know this stuff, and he's like, I wish I would have known just all of this information before.
Yeah.
And I think it was really, really eye-opening for him to see that and talk to our midwife, and our doula was really, really good with giving him information too, because he was like, oh, we had to have an emergency C-section. And my doula was like, really? And so she started talking about like, well, an emergency is, and he was like, oh my God, wait a minute. Like, I don't think that's actually what happened. And it was just like the wool had been like pulled from over his eyes. And now he's the person who, when our friends are pregnant, he's like, well, so you guys going to have a home birth or what are you
do? That's awesome.
He's super educated now. He reads articles. Like I send him articles and stuff and he'll read it. And he's like, okay, now I have the knowledge.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Um, okay, I'm just making sure he didn't have any more questions. No, he doesn't have any more questions right now, anyway. Well, that's awesome. I don't know that I was that patient, Jessica. I think I was just mad because I think for me, you know, I had 4 children before this child.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
dude, just get on board. Just get on board. So you know, we came up with a compromise, which was we had London in a hospital with a midwife. So I did have a midwife. In retrospect, though, both of us have discussed that compromise was not a good compromise. It was not a good compromise for me. And with what he knows now that he's educated after the fact and really understands that the setting and the space really determines and dictates so much within the birthing experience, that he looks back now and he says, yeah, if I would have known then what I know now, he would have been open to me having a home birth. So for all you
a lot of men are scared. I get that question so often with like, how do you get your husband or your boyfriend or your significant other like on board? So many people are always asking me that. And I think the guys, I think they're just scared, you know, like they see the stuff that we see on TV. Like I just knew that my water was like gonna break in Target, and I was like, I'm having the baby right now, like, and that's not how that happens at all. I'm like, this is gonna be my life. I'm gonna be grocery shopping, and I'm gonna look like I peed on the floor. That's not real life.
No, not at all.
I think like the media has got to do better with the information that they put out surrounding birth, because we see it, we take it in, and men, boys, they see it, they take it in, they think that you're not capable of birthing your baby yourself. And so you need assistance by going to the hospital. And they're like, I don't want to lose you. I don't want this to happen. I hear that people die during childbirth. So I'm just not comfortable with home birth, versus having the right education and knowing, hey, okay, this is actually how this is supposed to be done. This is what our ancestors did. My grandma's grandma probably had us at home, and this is our birthright. This is our legacy. This is how we're supposed to be birthing, versus the colonized way of birthing.
You know, you said something, and it just, something in me just went, when you said that, my brain is doing something weird now. Okay. Running all over the place because my whole body just processed something that you said, and I felt it in my body. When you said that, you know, the media needs to do a better job with how they depict birth, because we're constantly receiving, and not just us as women, but even small girls, small boys. And the belief is now that we as women do not know how to birth, that we need help. And it hit me because I was like, wait, but that's really so global now. It's like, I think even with the medical professionals, and that's why they deal with us the way that they do, because we're walking into them and they're believing we don't know what the heck to do. Right. And so therefore, when you go to the hospital and you have coached pushing, which is the worst thing ever, that should never even be. It shouldn't even be allowed. And, you know, you've got coach pushing. So therefore, it's the whole, we don't know what to do, when people just don't understand, or it's no longer the norm that our bodies innately, we know what to do. We know when to push. We know when to change positions. And we can't always verbalize. It's not necessarily this voice in your head that says you need to change position. It's a feeling. And when you're in an environment where you cannot tap into your inner self and get quiet and feel and sense, and you're not able to settle into that, you can't hear. It makes it very difficult to hear. And so therefore you can feel helpless and feel like, I need coaching. I don't know what to do. I promise you, Jessica, when they told me that I needed to push like I was having a bowel movement, I looked at them like they had lost their minds. My baby is
Yeah.
not coming out of my butt. Why would I be pushing like I'm having a bowel movement? I need to push using my stomach muscles, if anything.
Right.
And
Right.
even when you have those waves, your body, again, it shows you that it shows you exactly what to do. With or without you, that baby's coming out.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
those waves are going to push that baby down and out. Anyway,
I think
so
that's the biggest misconception. I hate that. Because I went in thinking that too, like, okay, I need to push like I have to poop. And like you're not pushing with that at all. Like that's
no,
not
and
what you're doing at all.
right, and that's how women end up with ridiculous hemorrhoids because you are putting strain on an area that you shouldn't be putting strain on.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have more questions. Okay, so he says, yes, you ladies have to understand that it's our baby too. So you have to go soft with men and talk to them and educate us. Men don't want to feel alienated from the process, but included in birth. So I'm actually glad he said that because one of the things I was going to say earlier when you were talking about your husband was when you said that they just want to protect us, and they do. But I think that, again, another normalized situation is men are not a part of the process. It's,
Yeah.
even from when they used to put us out to give birth and twilight us, the men weren't even allowed in the room. They had to sit outside and wait. But there definitely needs to be a shift and I see the shift in baby showers because now men show up at baby showers.
Yeah.
There definitely needs to be a shift in even the education piece of men being a part of that process and fully understanding just as much as we know that they need to know the same amount of information, if not more. Otherwise, they're going to stay in a place of being protective. And I mean, they'll always be there, but then there'll be overprotection and it'll be, no, this is what I know, this is what's safe, not realizing, no, that's not necessarily safe.
Right.
So what do
I
we do,
agree.
Jessica? What do we do about that? How do we educate our men?
I just feel like we need to start normalizing birth. We just really have to start normalizing it. We need to media
As a natural process.
Yeah, positive. Like even on social media, they like cover up the pictures. Like, oh, children can see this. Like, okay, they should. This is not. This is something that this is how they were born. They need to see that. It's nothing nasty about it. It is just a natural process that we need to start normalizing so that people know, like, this is how this happens. I feel like, especially in our community, it's something that's so secretive. It's like, oh, you have a baby, you don't let anybody know that. You don't let anybody see that part. And then you just have a baby and you're just like, okay. Right here. Like, and nobody sees the other stuff that happened behind the scenes, and they should, especially your husbands. One of my aunts actually told me, because she was like, oh, is your husband, is Alvin going to be there with you? I was like, yeah, he better. Yeah, he's going to be there. He's going to be in the pool with me. And she was like, I don't know if he should see that, because some men, they don't want to see that, because then they don't like find you attractive after that. And I'm like, if he thinks that he's grossed out by me after I pushed out his child, we're not a match. Like, that's
not it.
And she was just like, I'm just saying, I don't know. And I'm like, I just don't need to see that. I'm like, I could never imagine excluding my husband because I'm afraid that he's going to no longer be attracted to me after pushing out his child. Like, no.
Yeah.
We don't need to be together. That's just that.
Wow. That is so, because I've heard the same thing, that men, it's just even, the taboo with us having our cycles, and they don't want to see that. They don't want to see that. They just, it's like, well, this is a part of who I am as a woman. It's a
Right.
package. It's a package deal. You know, in order for me to be able to bear children for you, I have a
Right.
menstrual cycle, and this is part of the process. So you have to embrace all of it. Embrace it all. So let me see what time are we at? We're at 4:26. Yay! I saved it in my hour. I'm terrible with that because it just gets, you just get into talking about it. And when you're
Yes.
passionate about birth work and about, just the fact that Black women are 3 to 5 times more likely to die in childbirth than white women. And you are just an advocate for making the change and doing what needs to be done and getting the information out. You can just keep talking and talking and talking and educating and
I
wanting
know.
to know. So, yeah, I did my thing today and kept it within an hour. So I want to thank you so much for your time and your knowledge, sharing your knowledge. And I believe that the information that you've shared will definitely help mamas who look like us, who are looking for information and just needing guidance and direction. So can you please tell people where they can find you so that they can connect with you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Mamas in Color. It's MAMAS in Color. I think I don't have anything else. Just those 2 places.
Listen,
I also have a podcast. Same thing, Mamas in Color.
Yes.
I totally forgot about that.
I need to tune into your podcast. I really do. It's like, there's just so many things to do. But yeah, I definitely need to tune into your podcast. I need to take a look at that and see. So thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Harper. She went to sleep.
Finally, yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for taking the time out to share. And I apologize, everybody, that we were late, but things happen. We're moms, real life. Welcome to our real life. So thank you again. And
thank you so much.
Yeah. I would like to, I'd be curious. I'm kind of doing like these steps because I realize that it's not, as much as we want to make it one big giant thing, it's not always that way, that things are compartmentalized. So there is the pregnancy, and then there's the birth, and then there is the postpartum, and we need to address the postpartum, especially in our community, because not just for the complications, but also postpartum depression is huge in our community. And I found myself the other day looking back and saying, man, did I have any postpartum depression? Because it was almost like anything I was going through was just normal. It was supposed to happen. And not really that, okay, this could be a problem, because mental health as a whole within our community is a very taboo thing. Yeah. So did you suffer from any postpartum depression?
No, it's funny because I'm writing an article right now about postpartum, and I'm like, I can't remember. I feel like I didn't have postpartum depression, but I feel like I went through a little bit of postpartum rage. And I feel like that's never really talked about. Like, I wasn't angry at my baby, but everything else just like, I would like fly off the handle. Like, I was like furious. Like, and I remember reaching out to a couple moms, like, is this normal? Is this okay? Like, I don't know what's going on. And a couple moms were like, it could just be like you learning your inner mama bear. And then someone else was like, it could be postpartum depression masking itself as anger. Right. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know.
Wow.
It wasn't for a long time, but it was just like, it made me like, okay, I need to check what's going on here, because I am like really short-tempered, really snappy with people, and I didn't want to be that way.
Wow. Let me see if Lonnie said anything else. No, he didn't. Okay, so yeah, I would love to have a conversation with you at another time. Maybe No, yeah, absolutely. Have a conversation about that, because again, these are conversations that we need to normalize. We need to have the breastfeeding conversation.
Yes.
You are poster child for breastfeeding. So I am like, yes, I'm loving it. Yeah, that's a whole nother.
As we speak.
Yes, that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself, because in our communities, we're not breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Breastfeeding like we should be. Breastfeeding has become an option versus
Right.
something that is beneficial and just should be done. Like, like that should be normalizing. There we go. Normalizing breastfeeding in the Black community. So, okay. Yeah, see, it's heading that way. It's heading that way. Alrighty, I'm gonna let you go so that you don't have to keep nursing half let sleep. Yes, and so yeah, we'll definitely connect again to speak about postpartum depression / rage and breastfeeding. And I really appreciate all that you're doing.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going to keep fighting this good fight, because I'm not waiting on anybody to fix the situation for us.
Right.
We've got to, we have to educate each other. We have to hold each other accountable and not sit and wait for saviors anymore. We are our saviors. So
absolutely.
right here, yeah. Mamas in Color and the birthing code. We are here. We are here. So definitely follow my sister on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, we'll let you know when we're going to bring the beautiful Miss Jessica Rena back again. Gorgeous and adorable Miss Harper to come and show us.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks, Jessica. Really appreciate you. So we will talk again soon. Alrighty, lovely. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. So that was the beautiful Miss Jessica. I'm going to say Miss Jessica Harper, Miss Jessica Rena. So, yeah, for all of you who are, thank you so much for being here, those who are here. And if you're catching this on the replay, please feel free to comment, ask questions, be a part of the conversation. And for any of you Rebel Queens out there who, I didn't tell you about that. So yeah, and Jessica has her page, and we also have the Rebel Queens group for anybody who is looking for information and community on how to have a life-affirming, just exponential, amazing birthing experience. You should definitely come over and join your tribe and be educated on the fact that you have choices. As Jessica says, you can fire your doctor in the middle of labor if that's what's needed. So definitely come on over and come and hang with the Mavericks and the Rebel Queens over in our group on Facebook, Rebel Queens. And we have a 12-week intensive container coming up, December 17th. It's the last class of the year, the last section. This is the last class that I'll be offering this year. It's not a class. I keep calling it a class because that's my default. So it's a live group coaching. And if there's anything that you heard today that has made you feel like, you know what, I need to be better prepared, or I need more information, I have a very strong desire to have a natural birth, and I don't necessarily know where to start. I've got some stuff I'm dealing with. There's some things that, that are definitely bringing up fears for me. I would like to have a natural birth, but I'm scared. If that's you, but there is something in you way deep down that is just tugging and saying, this is the way you need to go, this is what you need to do, this is what's safer, this is what's better, then please go ahead and drop a comment and let me know that you're interested in the possibility of taking our course. We'll go ahead and set up a call where you and I can talk and see if this is even a good fit for you. So just, you can either DM me on Instagram, you can inbox me on Facebook. Yeah, I did it right, DM, inbox. You can drop a comment in YouTube at the bottom, or you can send me an email. I am nikki@thebirthingcode.com. nikki@thebirthingcode.com. Ladies, gentlemen, it has been fabulous. I look forward to Wednesdays for our Rebel Queen Spotlights, and I so appreciate the queens who share their stories and their triumphs and just show that everything is possible if you can conceive it, and if your mind can, you know, just come up with the idea, that it is more than possible to make it a reality. Thank you so much for coming and hanging with us. Be sure to connect with us next week, Wednesday, same place, same time. Actually, more like 3 o'clock. Yeah, more like 3 o'clock. I know it's Thanksgiving next week, Thursday, but next week, Wednesday, we will still be here for Rebel Queen Spotlight, and come in and listen to our Rebel Queen stories. Thank you for your time. I will see you all next week, and be sure to follow the Birthing Code on Instagram, Birthing Code, and Birthing Code on Facebook, Birthing Code, and on YouTube you can follow us, The Birthing Code. Have a great night, guys. Take care.